is I will be right when I say the positive science is 100% science and normative sciences are 70% sciences and 30% philosophy.
No, if actually, but actually relaxes
But I
empiricism
am
and
confused. This is no science. It should be a philosophy only.
actually
It's not
I
telling
to
the
explain it,
definition.
I will say that sciences have been actually this point a normative science can also violate.
It's not science.
What type of change occurs in you? It is
More
not
violation
necessary.
exist.
It is not necessary.
Dr. Zahid Mughal with me. Welcome to another podcast session. I am your host Yasir Jami. Again, I have opportunity Dr. Zahid Mughal with me. Thank you, sir, for your precious time. In today's podcast session, I want to ask about the positive sciences and normative sciences. While we know that science should be science, why we prefixes the word positive and normative before the word science? What is the logic?
Great questions you are posing now to the best of my abilities. However, why these two prefixes have been put before the word science to make two different
Yeah.
sciences? So, first we have to recall what a science is, and you can reminiscence of that podcast in which we discussed about science. You know, science is the systematic pursuit or body of knowledge that organizes and builds up the knowledge of the natural world in the form of predictable explanations and predictions, and works on the principle of scientific method.
Which is objective reality. We can say that.
One of the pillars, basic pillars, obviously is
Yes.
objective reality, to discuss objective reality. However, just briefly mentioning, empiricism.
Yes. We have
And
discussed in previous
empiricism
podcast.
means that science develops knowledge based on observation and experimentation, and technically, a posteriori knowledge based on induction is actually comes under empiricism. However, that is totally comprehensively related to the objective world, the natural world
Yes.
that is outerly expanding in all directions, centering us. And the third basic pillar of scientific method is of testability, that the knowledge collected from the objective world, the natural world, can be tested. Without testing knowledge and then getting it verified, it can't be called as a scientific knowledge. And there are other three points which are notedly under the objective and the empiricism, and that the scientific knowledge can be repeated, and this knowledge is actually parsimonious,
Yeah.
and that is conciseness of this knowledge.
Because of failure, it will be repeated or any other reason.
Not failure, but
Science can be failed.
maybe another experimenter can on repetition produce the same results
Okay.
as
Okay.
you did or the first person.
It will be fulfill the definition of science.
However, if the second observer, or when the results are repeated in second experiment, if the results don't agree with the first, so then some modification may be recommended, and again passing through the scientific method, that knowledge can be improved, regained in improved form. And in the last, what we know in the scientific community, peer review, that actually validate the scientific knowledge. So this is science, organized body of knowledge, characterized with the ability to predict. When you just spoke the word normative science against a positive science, so you and maybe some other people interested in knowing then why the word positive
Yes,
has been
yes, yes, yes.
prefixed with the word science? Actually, to differentiate between these two, positive and normative science, we have to survey their actual object of study. From generally, when we were describing a science, we knew that science actually is based upon the data collected by sense perception or instruments applied by sense perception or man made instruments. However, that is totally related to the objects in the outer world. Sensations or sense based data is totally have objects in the outer world. That
Okay,
is
okay.
objectivity. So when we have to differentiate this from other sciences, we prefix a word positive science. Positive science actually deals with what is.
What is?
Is what is here means that what is existing right now, here, now,
Okay.
as it is, without suggesting or prescribing anything uh, that such knowledge may be mapped onto a norm, to an idealized situation. Scientific knowledge is actually the knowledge of the outer reality of the physical world, of the natural world as it is.
What is?
This is meant by the what is. Science does not care to prescribe how the nature have to work. Just collect data and builds upon it such explanations and predictions about this world which are fruitful for humanity, or another way that actually give the knowledge of the world. We don't prescribe while working in a positive science that the nature should behave like this,
Okay.
or nature must not be do this. We just actually want to know what is,
What
how
is?
it is being done or it is being performed by
In
the natural laws.
in simple wording, we can say that the positive sciences are what is.
What is, it does not prescribe anything, just describes. A
Okay.
positive science deals with describing the reality of the outer world, the objective reality as it appears to us,
Hmm.
as it is existing right now, here in the now. So a positive science always have an object of study out of our mind, objectively existing there somewhere in the outer environment. And that knowledge, as we discussed, gathered based upon the scientific method, is known as positive knowledge. A positive science actually gives us positive knowledge.
Positive knowledge.
And by positive knowledge, we mean that there is inextricably objective study out there, in the external, in the outer, existing as an objective reality. So, positive science, I think you would have understood that, is totally the study of nature as it is. However, here are some interesting points to discuss. Actually, a positive science is concerned with the sense perception data, as we already mentioned, and perceptions are based upon the data collected by our sensations. And what looks to our sensations? For example, we already have discussed, when we look upon a flower, that is a beautiful flower that fascinates us.
Yes.
But in actuality, what is that? Colors are due to light, and light is merely form of energy. However, science accepts that form of the flower as it is, and then it accumulates other properties of that flower and builds upon that properties what that may be as a form of reality we call a flower. However, that flower per se in itself may be something else. However, in positive sciences, by listening me, you can yourself recall, uh, mention that positive sciences then could be a physics, because physics studies matter and energy and their mutual relationship that exist outer. Even we ourselves are made up of matter.
like applied sciences.
Chemistry, biological sciences, and all such sciences whose objects of study are actual physical reality, physical
Reality.
bodies.
Okay.
Now, in contrast to this, we mentioned that normative science. That is a science. There should be no doubt that normative normative science, being a science, must have object of study in the outer. But this does not come true. Actually, a normative science can be put in words as it concerns itself with what ought to be, what should be, which means that a normative science, rather giving a proper description to the nature as it exists, it tries to prescribe something. Prescription, just as doctors give prescription for their patients. So prescription leads to some norms, though that norms are defined by humanity, by humans, by great minds like prophets and other ameliorators and other great minds. So the word normative is actually adjective of the norm,
Okay.
a standardized thing. What is a norm? A standardized thing. So normative science actually want to compare or map onto something already defined and prescribed norms. And in this trying in this struggle of prescription and mapping over to some norm, normative science leads to have ideals or form ideals. Some person wants to become like that person. Today I am this, I want to be something else tomorrow. This whole journey actually falls in the realm of a normative science. For example, actually, a normative science relaxes not whole a few points from the scientific method. We may see that, for example, the first condition of empiricism, a normative science may relax. And secondly, that is very primary condition for a science to be a science, objectivity. Actually, to to the standard definition of the science, normative science must fulfill the criterion of the scientific method. But actually, though uh, that is called a science, but actually relaxes
But I
empiricism
am
and
confused. This is no science. It should be a philosophy only.
actually
It's not.
I will say that, sciences have been evolving over the time, passing through the process of uh, improvement and also of separating unnecessary things from it. So in 19th century, science, the word science was used purely for the natural sciences.
Natural sciences.
And
Okay.
natural science means the objective sciences that stringently apply the scientific method for their study. However, with the passage of time, other sciences, for example, humanity and other social sciences, started to implement the critical analysis of their data and the evidence based results they tried to finding out. So, based on that critical analysis, evidence-based reasoning, they are this they have been called as science. However, if you stick to the normalized definition of a science, so I become
It
here helpless that I uh, further put arguments to you. However, normative science does not have its objects of study as something tangible, palpable in the outer world. However, for example, mathematics, metaphysics, social sciences, philosophy, ethics, aesthetics, all such sciences, though they study and analyze the data collected from the outer world,
outer world.
but after they have processed that data and have found out some results, their object of study that has come out from data analysis does not lie in the outer. That is actually change in ourselves.
It's like hidden data and hidden things.
However, hidden things have impacts in the objective world.
Objective. Okay, okay. This is the main reason. All right, you have well defined the science, and we can easily understand the positive science is what is. And when we define the normative philosophy, I using words philosophy because I think this is not fulfilling the complete definition of science. So normative philosophy is what ought to be, and it's look like hidden things, hidden norms. But the science, applied science, positive science, we can openly say that this is science. But about the normative, I think we should say that it is
To
philosophy, not
make it
science.
further clear, okay, I am actually getting you what do you want to say. In order to further take us clarified, we just have an example. For example, a teacher when says to his student
Okay.
that you should do more than what you are doing. Actually, this is prescription. This, in usual language, in colloquial language, we may call it a description. However, wherever the word ought to, might, might be, and should be occurs, actually, technically, terminologically, there we should use the word the teacher is prescribing something to that student. So when I expect that this student can more than the presently he is doing, actually I am prescribing to him that you can do more. This is the statement of normative science. Now, if that students changes, where is that change?
Okay, okay.
Although that change psychologically occurs in his brain, in
Brain.
his mind. However, can that be seen? Only if that change is seeable, is in the form of behaviors. What does he do? So, a normative science actually is a prescriptive science.
Descriptive science. Oh,
That
we can
this
say.
thing is like this, it should be, it ought to be like that. So this is the actually prescription. And if we observe a thing and we are contented with that, this is actually description of the physical science.
From this discussion, the another question is emerging in my mind. The sciences and positive sciences results are repetitive. Is there the results of normative sciences or philosophy is also repetitive?
You actually want to say are repeatable,
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 repeat.
repeatability.
Repeatability exists in the normative sciences like a positive sciences.
Actually, this point a normative science can also violate.
It's not science.
What type of change occurs in you?
Much
It is
more
not
violation
necessary.
exist.
It is not necessary The same change I must have occurred in me. My change, although that is change,
There is no must.
but there are different dimensions of that change.
Okay, okay.
However, there are various aspects in psychological sciences, in religion sciences, where such things occur. However, like science, a normative science observed by one person cannot be repeated on the same grounds by the other person. For example,
In from this aspect, it is not fulfilling the definition of science because the results are not repeating
actually, you
in
are
the same
picking up
dimension.
the very challenging point in finding out harmony between the two different aspects of science.
Because I am confused. I think this should not be science. It should be a philosophy because not fulfilling the definition of science from the all aspects. Maybe some.
No doubt you can say that this is actually philosophy. However, conventionally it has been called as a science. Even today, a subject of history is also called a science.
Oh,
Actually, critical analysis
it's mean we
and
can say that the historical sciences are the branch of normative sciences.
even there is a great deal of
But there is some
great
reason exists. History repeats itself.
not in that sense. That actually is an important point of scientific method. For example, you say history repeats.
Philosophers say that
So,
history repeats itself.
so, can you find a person like Socrates uh, that can be compared intellectually to Plato or some other philosopher of that capability and talent? It would not be possible.
Not possible.
There are many philosophers from the Eastern world and in the Western world. However, there are individual aspects and traits and properties that each one has. So, in this sense, though when we say outwardly, things and even individualities appear same, however, this similarity is not exact because nature in each movement of time is anew.
Okay.
Nature actually creates, and the word creates is opposite to the word repeat, repeats,
Repeats.
repetition.
It looks like the previous, but it's not a
It
previous. It
is
is a new,
not at
always new.
all the previous.
Every second is new.
If you allow me,
Every coming
I
seconds.
would like to put here the words by इकबाल. पसंद उसे तकरार की खू नहीं कि तू मैं नहीं और मैं तू नहीं.
Good. Wow.
That nature does not likes the same habit, same behavior is repeated. Rather, he does not like or she does not like that you might be me and me might be you. And that is actually emphasizing the individuality of each movement of time. Each movement of time is creative, is a new movement.
Okay, this is the
So,
human
and
sciences.
this actually leads to the flow of existential reality.
Okay.
Nature actually, if you could understand, can be only creative. It's if it creates, it does not repeats.
Okay.
Repeat. Sorry.
But the process is same when sun rise in the next day, like the previous day. There is look like a
No.
repeat. All nights are repeating. The sun rising is repeating. Sometimes we think these all previous thing is repeating, but
Actually, you can be astonished at this that a Greek philosopher, a Hellenic period from the Hellenic period, but pre-Socrates philosophers, Heraclitus,
Okay.
what we would do in call Heraclitus,
Heraclitus.
has said that you can't cross a river twice, which means that when for the first time you crossed a river,
You have crossed.
now instantly after first crossing, if you try to cross next time that river, the river is new. You are not also the same. So this is actually the flow of existential reality.
Okay, 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 okay. Best example to understand this.
However, this is somewhat philosophically and actually belongs to normative science.
Okay.
So, actually, what is the dynamics of nature? Uh, if I don't claim that to be a student of science, but I become a mistake, then I see reality, the physical reality, in continuous flow. So it is becoming as if that someone has prescribed it to transform from state to state and reach to its ultimate destination or what it want to be.
It's only transformation, step by step.
In most of the cases, the flow of natural reality, existential reality. So this is how uh, your question is responded, that a positive science has been set aside from a normative science through the nature of their object of study. Obviously, a normative science leads to philosophy.
Okay, okay. The human science, from the biological aspect, it is a positive science. From the behavior of humans, these are the normative sciences.
Actually, what you are naming as human science, we generally call it as social social science.
Social sciences. All right, but I am asking about the human science, social science. Is there two type of sciences exist? The biological sciences of human and the behavior of human, social behavior, all the normative sciences in one person.
Actually, if we can see, there are multifaceted aspects of human personality,
Okay, okay.
of humans or human beings. The various aspects, multifaceted aspects, can't be dealt by a single science. Psychologically, to deal with the psychology of human beings, normative science are designed. What I am, what I ought to be.
But
Don't you want to become something else?
else.
Every person from humanity wants to improve himself or herself, wants, does not stay contented with what that is, rather through, actually you were talking about transformation.
Transformation. Another question in emerging my mind: the culture change or cultural difference can affect the normative sciences.
No, actually, if you talk about the difference between the cultures, Arabic culture, Asian
Culture.
culture, Western culture. So this difference is actually points to the needs for normative science. When we all are humans, we are basically same. Our needs are of similar nature. Despite all this, why the cultural difference exists? So this actually makes the subject matter of normative science.
Yeah.
Why these differences? While the psychological needs are same, a person or an individual from Western culture wants to be something improved, something to be, and what is the culmination of this improvement? We just pose a question here. A perfect man. Everyone wants to be a perfect man.
Yeah, why not?
That is, I am today uncultured, and having less methods of improving me. However, I hope that tomorrow I will gather more and more knowledge, more and more material sources to improve my economical states, and in this way transforming physically from state to state. I can be a perfect man. However, this is a physical change. But this change occurs psychologically, inwardly in your mind. However, the influences and impacts or effects of that change are shown shown to the society through your body, through your bodily behaviors. Also part of that.
Body language also
There are
part of
many
normative
aspects
science.
of our acts or action. Actually, that question was uh, at many occasions or at more times there is occurring transformation or psychologically in our human society there is transformation from state to state that actually a normative science requires from humans. But sometime there is transmutation. That is a
Transmute.
word from biological sciences, physiological change.
Okay.
Transformation,
Transmutation.
transformation always occurs psychologically. The whole evolution, psychological evolution of me as an individual person from a humanity, from a human society. I I am this, I want to that. This is actually transformation. Same body, same person, same individual person. However, we seldom have seen that in the human society what we have experienced a physiological change would have occurred. Actually, there are some reasons to believe that a physiological change is also possible. However, I am not going to discuss it right now.
Okay.
So, transformation is the basic tenet of a normative science. Change,
Change.
change, and be something else. What is required by the standard human intellect? Be that. Actually, if you could study
It was a
the
normative science.
this is actually normative science. Change, transformation in the form of transformation that could be understood in the terms or words of ought to be. Ought to be means that it has to satisfy not only our intellectual measures, intellectual norms, rather, it has to fulfill or satisfy the intelligence norms.
Okay,
Intelligence
okay.
is something that does not frequently works on the memory data. So this is normality, normative science.
Okay, okay, okay.
So just for the discussion or just for the sake of argumentative discussions, we may differentiate between a positive science and a normative
And
science. Actually, I believe that they can't be disengaged from one another.
okay, okay.
They are integral part of one another. Each other.
To each other. In the simple word, if we want to understand, it was a very fruitful discussion. But in simple, we can understand the positive science is what is, and the normative science ought to be. This is the
Is
simple,
related to
we
these.
can define it. At the last, before the conclusion, is I will be right when I say the positive science is 100% science and normative sciences are 70% sciences and 30% philosophy.
No, if actually you put the uh, that discerning measure, then you don't allow me to call a normative science and science because scientific method will not allow a normative science to be a science in that sense. However, based on critical analysis, evidence based reasoning, and reaching some results that can be tested under certain conditions. In a sense, that philosophy is called as normative science.
There is probability exists. Some if someone want to say the normative science, he can say, and someone want to say the philosophy, he can also say. Thank you, sir. It was very fruitful discussion with the great evidence and examples. Again, thank you for your precious time, and viewers, thank you for watching our podcast.